Hello, this is Idea Coach. He's a Coach East Rome. We're in on the weight classes for Werdum versus Antonio Minotauro Nogueira 2. This event takes place in Brazil, and we're reviewing 3 fights, one at welterweight, light heavyweight, and of course the heavyweight main event. Welterweight bout, Jason High versus Erick Silva. You know, Jason High is one of those fighters I've been watching since the Dream Welterweight tournament back in 2008. He's a fighter that tends to fight at the level of his opponents. Now, for those who don't know, this is a term that was going around a whole lot back in the 90s in American football, but that's a team sport. And also, and more importantly, games don't get canceled. Fights in the UFC and all throughout MMA get switched around a whole lot due to injuries and other issues. But what ends up happening for a fighter like Jason High is that when he's facing a weak opponent, he pulls off a pretty weak performance. Physically speaking, he should be way higher in the UFC welterweight ranks, just based on his physical aspects alone. I mean, he's strong, he's fast, getting the takedown. His hand game is not really there. It's more of a distraction for his wrestling. But I still feel that Jason High has not yet pulled it all together, even though he's probably considered a veteran at this point. He's on a good winning streak right now. However, his opponents have been pretty much no-names. This is actually Jason High's return fight to the UFC. He's going to be facing what would have been the hot topic of the welterweight division, Erick Silva, explosive, fast fighter who just had too much too soon facing off against John Fitch. I know that his performance in the rounds 2 and 3 of the Fitch fight were pretty subpar, but I felt that he learned a whole lot. I mean, he did not quit in that fight, even though he was getting smothered, especially that third round. He's fighting off an actual weaker version of John Fitch, or Josh Koscheck for that matter, and Jason High. I feel that Erick Silva's explosiveness, overall game in damn near every aspect, should be able to pull off the victory probably within the second round. Light heavyweight bout, Rafael Cavalcante versus Thiago Silva. This is a very interesting matchup right here because these guys parallel each other in a number of ways. Of course, they've both been proven to be pissing hot with steroids. However, it's not just that. Around 2007, these guys were those up-and-comers in the light heavyweight division that everyone thought were going to be the number one top contenders within like 2009 fighting for the belt. And they never quite made it in that time frame. They almost had like that Sokoju quality about them. Silva has not been the same since he was rendered to be nothing more than a feather in the cap of W.I.O.T.W.C. And when he had those fights with Brandon Vera, got caught pissing hot with steroids, had issues with his back, fought Rashad Evans, lost to him in a very competitive fight, I have to say. He just haven't had the same fire that he's had back when he had that 13-0 winning streak going on for him. Cavalcante was supposed to be the next big thing in the light heavyweight division, lost in Strikeforce and Elite XC during that time, and ended up winning the belt against King Mo. And very impressively, might I add. His hands looked extremely well in that fight. And with his fight with Dan Henderson, he even looked better until he got caught with the big right hand. Now, he's been taking a lot of time off, and he hasn't really been all that active. I think that the overall chi of Thiago Silva is what's going to lead to his demise in this event. He's having issues with his team, and he hasn't been the same fighter in the past 5 years or so. Cavalcante, on the other hand, it has the whole Black House team backing him up, and I just think that with his hand game, I think he's going to pick apart Thiago Silva because even when Thiago Silva was doing well in the beginning of his career, his hands are always sloppy. And I just don't think that's going to work out too well with someone who's such a sniper like Fedor. Main event heavyweight bout, Werdum versus Minotauro Nogueira. Good grief, the MMA world has changed so much since these two first fought. Back in Pride, when Minotauro beat Werdum, it was more of a pick-up fight for him. Now they're fighting again in Brazil, and it kind of makes sense given the Ultimate Fighter being in Brazil and the UFC want to really establish their fan base there. Let me just get straight to the skill sets. Werdum sometimes has mental hiccups. The W.I.O.T.W.C fight, which he kind of didn't really show up for. and that's when W.I.O.T.W.C was a great fighter. The Overing fight, in the rematch, he was just not there mentally, pulling guard for some strange reason. His striking is more fluid thanks to his time with the Shooter Box Academy. To be honest with you, I didn't really think he was all that bad to begin with. He's probably going to not use the same style that he used against fighting Roy Nelson with that clinch work, Muay Thai, just because Minotaur's fighting style is more defensive towards that. Minotauro, on the other hand, he's won a couple of fights recently, but it's been very subpar competition. That Pee Wee Herman fight was just, oh God. That was just a terrible performance by Herman, by the way. I've never seen anyone take that straight-up stance in a number of years. His Minotauro's hands are better. However, his footwork is actually worse. Speed has declined in Minotauro's category, and I'm sad to say that. Luckily for him, Werdum is not the fastest heavyweight out there. You know, it's strange because Minotauro Nogueira is my third favorite fighter of all time, and I've been doing well in the weight classes for the past 2 years, and I think I've only picked Minotauro once out of his 4 fights that he had within that time frame. That was at UFC 134, the first modern-day UFC in Brazil. I just feel that his experience is going to help him get through the first 2 rounds, but he just has so much wear and tear. And I feel that for Werdum, he should be at the point where he's physically peaking right now. I don't think he's going to finish Minotauro, but I think he's going to get him to the unanimous decision win. And I feel so sad that Minotauro may be losing this fight. However, if he does win, I'm very happy to say that Josh Barnett has now signed to the UFC, and we could see Minotauro Barnett 3. So let me run down my picks one more time. I have Erick Silva at welterweight. At light heavyweight, I have Fedor, and at heavyweight, I have Werdum. Share, subscribe, take care.